Reflections on Technology and Human Relationships.
Essay 1. There was a time when the sound of a friend's voice or the warmth of a shared silence bore the weight of meaning. Nowadays, it seems that even the deepest affections are reduced to the sterile efficiency of a seen message or a blue tick. I do not, of course, claim to be immune to this shift. Like many, I find myself constantly checking my phone, tethered to a device that promises connection while often delivering the opposite. Technology, in its unrelenting march, has redrawn the contours of human intimacy, and not always for the better. Let me first acknowledge the benefits, lest I be accused of romanticizing the past. Technology has undeniably broadened the scope of our social lives. It has allowed us to reconnect with long-lost acquaintances, maintain bonds across continents, and even form new communities rooted in shared interests rather than geographical proximity. To my mind, it would be sheer folly to overlook such gains. After all, to throw the baby out with the bathwater is never advisable. However, there is something unnerving about the depthlessness of many modern interactions. While we are now more connected than ever, the quality of those connections is, more often than not, disturbingly shallow. A heartfelt conversation is frequently replaced by a stream of emojis, a thoughtful letter by a hastily typed LOL. In a world where attention is monetized and dopamine is the new currency, genuine presence, that most vital element of human relationships, is increasingly hard to come by. It could be argued, and not without merit, that we are becoming emotionally illiterate. The more we rely on digital filters to express ourselves, the less adept we become at navigating the complexities of real-life emotion. Children, growing up with tablets as companions, may very well master coding before they master empathy. And here I cannot help but recall the proverb, "You reap what you sow." If we sow in screens, we may well reap in silence. Moreover, the digital world often fosters illusion over substance. Social media platforms, in particular, have become curated museums of perfection. One only shows what flatters. What does not is cropped out or edited beyond recognition. This culture of presentation, in my view, corrodes authenticity, not only in how we relate to others, but, more tragically, in how we relate to ourselves. That being said, I am not entirely pessimistic. The human spirit, though vulnerable to distraction, has a remarkable capacity for adaptation. Already I see friends choosing to digitally detox, couples opting for device-free dinners, and schools introducing mindfulness as a counterbalance to hyperconnectivity. These may be small steps, but as the saying goes, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. All things considered, I believe we stand at a crossroads. Technology, like fire, can either illuminate or consume. The task before us is not to shun it, but to wield it wisely, to ensure that in embracing the convenience of the digital world, we do not lose the irreplaceable richness of human connection. For, in the final analysis, no number of followers, likes, or retweets can substitute the quiet joy of being truly known and deeply understood.
Essay 2. For the better part of the last decade, I've found myself both mesmerized and mildly apprehensive about the rapid ascent of artificial intelligence. as someone who appreciates nuance and values the balance between progress and prudence, I cannot help but weigh the pros and cons with a sense of philosophical detachment, reminiscent, perhaps, of the way Bertrand Russell might have scrutinized the dilemmas of his time.
To begin with, it would be remiss not to acknowledge the astonishing benefits AI has ushered in. From medical diagnostics to language translation, from data analytics to personalized education, it has revolutionized entire sectors. One need not be a tech aficionado to see that AI has, in no small measure, made life more streamlined and efficient. The sheer speed at which it crunches numbers, sifts through data, and detects patterns far beyond human capacity is, frankly, mind-boggling. In many respects, we have harnessed a tool that can help solve some of humanity's thorniest problems.
And yet, as the old proverb goes, every rose has its thorn. For all its dazzling potential, artificial intelligence carries within it a kernel of danger, not because of what it knows, but because of what it lacks: consciousness, ethics, and most alarmingly, restraint. I find myself increasingly troubled by the unthinking enthusiasm with which society embraces these systems without fully grasping their implications. We are, it seems, so caught up in the thrill of invention that we've failed to ask the most important question: at what cost?
Indeed, the rise of AI has triggered a host of ethical conundrums. Who, for instance, is to be held accountable when an AI-driven car crashes or a biased algorithm denies someone employment? These are not trivial matters. We are, whether we like it or not, hurtling towards a future where machines may wield more influence over our lives than elected officials. One cannot help but fear that in automating everything, we risk dehumanizing ourselves, reducing our choices to statistics, our values to code.
Furthermore, there is the existential concern that AI might render vast swaths of the population redundant. Yes, technological revolutions have always displaced workers, but they've also created new roles. The difference now lies in the velocity and breadth of the disruption. With machines learning at exponential rates, the time required for societies to retrain and adapt may simply not suffice. As the saying goes, the devil makes work for idle hands, and widespread unemployment, especially among the young, could prove a breeding ground for unrest and despair.
On the flip side, it would be intellectually dishonest not to recognize the upside. Properly regulated and ethically designed, AI could usher in a golden age of innovation and social welfare. Imagine a world where intelligent systems alleviate the burdens of healthcare, streamline bureaucracy, and allow us more time for creativity, learning, and interpersonal connection. But, and this is a crucial caveat, such outcomes are by no means guaranteed. Without careful oversight, we might just as easily spiral into a dystopia masquerading as efficiency.
All things considered, my stance is one of cautious optimism. I believe we must neither fall head over heels in love with AI, nor demonize it as the harbinger of doom. Rather, we ought to approach it as we would any powerful tool, with reverence, regulation, and responsibility. As Bertrand Russell once implied, the hallmark of civilization lies not in blind advancement, but in the wisdom to temper power with conscience.
All things being equal, the question is not whether we can build smarter machines, but whether we ought to, and how we ensure they remain unequivocally in service of human values. It's a conversation worth having before it's too late.
Thank you for listening to English Audio Lounge. We hope you have enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more audio stories and video classes to improve your English.